for Sunday Morning Futures. Thank you for joining us.
And a Fox News alert, the United States has killed the world's most wanted terrorist, ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. U.S. Special Operations Forces cornering him last night in a compound in northern Syria. He apparently detonated a suicide vest as troops closed in. Here's President Trump just moments ago at the White House.
Capturing or killing Baghdadi has been the top national security priority of my administration. U.S. Special Operations Forces executed a dangerous and daring nighttime raid in northwestern Syria and accomplished their mission in grand style.
We have reaction this morning from several influential lawmakers, including Congressman John Ratcliffe, who sits on the Intelligence Committee, and Senator Steve Daines. General Jack Keane is standing by as well. First, though, let's get the latest on the death of al-Baghdadi and what we know about how the operation went down. We go to Lucas Tomlinson after he is here at the Pentagon. Lucas.
Maria, the president said they had been watching Baghdadi for the past 2 weeks, and then there were 2 and 3 prior attempts to kill him, but the missions were scrubbed. We're not sure why. The president called the mission a daring nighttime raid used by U.S. Special Operations Forces. Fox News has learned it involved the Army's Delta Force, the Army's 75th Ranger Regiment, part of the military's elite Joint Special Operations Command. Here's how the president described how the mission ended for Baghdadi.
He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering and crying and screaming all the way. The compound had been cleared by this time, with people either surrendering or being shot and killed. 11 young children were moved out of the house and are uninjured. The only ones remaining were Baghdadi in the tunnel, and he had dragged 3 of his young children with him. They were led to certain death. He reached the end of the tunnel as our dogs chased him down. He ignited his vest, killing himself and the 3 children.
The president said the U.S. Special Operations Forces accomplished their mission in, quote, grand style. The president said he watched the mission unfold in real time live from the Situation Room last night with his new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, along with his Defense Secretary, Mark Esper, and new National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien. He said the entire mission, the U.S. forces were on the ground for about 2 hours. Maria, was a touching moment when the president mentioned the Americans, some of the Americans killed at the hands of Baghdadi and ISIS. He mentioned them by name: James Foley, Stephen Sotloff, Kayla Mueller, who is an American girl, an aid worker who went to Syria to help people and was captured by ISIS and later rumored to become a slave to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the ISIS emir. Peter Kasig as well, a former Army Ranger. Yeah. Also that Jordanian pilot, remember the horrific images of that pilot being burned alive in a cage? That was all part of ISIS's propaganda. It's slick propaganda, as the State Department called it at the time. 5 years ago, ISIS controlled an area the size of Ohio. Today, that caliphate has been destroyed and its leader has been killed. Maria.
All right. Thank you so much, Lucas. An extraordinary story of victory for this administration. Joining me right now on the telephone is Jack Keane. He is retired 4-star general. He is a Fox News senior strategic analyst. And, General, it is good to have your insights here this morning, your reaction to al-Baghdadi being taken down.
Well, let's credit the president for his dogged determination to pursue Baghdadi all of these years. Also for the persistence of our intelligence agency that stayed on top of it, despite the frustration of not having found him for so many years. And also, obviously, the cooperation of our allied partners, the Syrian Kurds, which gave us valuable information at a time when they're probably under the most significant crisis they've ever been exposed to. And lastly, obviously, the daring courage of our Special Operations Forces and the extraordinary competence that they have to be able to conduct a raid like this and go in there and literally rescue children at the same time, corner this coward in a tunnel and bring him to certain death and have no casualties whatsoever. And they're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, extraordinary work.
Go ahead, Maria.
Extraordinary work from our special ops team. A huge salute to them. What kind of treasure trove do you think they were able to find as a result of taking him out? Are there documents, information that may have been left behind that we are waiting on the IG report, which we're fully expecting FISA abuse. And of course, last week we learned that now John Durham's investigation has turned criminal.
Right. Well, I think that we've been spending far too much time on this impeachment inquiry. But if we're going to do it, let's talk to the most important witnesses. Every American deserves to know when Adam Schiff's staff met with this whistleblower that started a process to try and remove the president from office. And I think every American sees that Adam Schiff, the person who promised that Donald Trump was going to see significant jail time because he had substantial evidence of collusion with Russia and that he was engaged in treasonous activity as a Russian agent, which ultimately proved not to be true, shouldn't be the person running this impeachment inquiry, and it shouldn't be running through the Intelligence Committee and behind closed doors meetings that we can't talk about openly. So hopefully that'll end. And what the people just saw there, I agree with what Lindsey Graham just said about the president really changing the rules of engagement. He's doing that across the board with respect to fighting terrorism, with respect to approaching trade deals, with respect to how we grow the economy, all of those things. Give this president credit. While he's attacked shamelessly, baselessly, repeatedly by his critics, he keeps providing solutions and doing good things for the American people, and I think they see that.
And do you expect in the IG report that we will see criminal referrals from the Inspector General? And what will that mean for John Durham's investigation, which is now an out-and-out criminal investigation?
Well, I don't believe in coincidences, and the end of the Inspector General's investigation and his impending report coming at the same time as the start of John Durham announcing that this is now a criminal probe is not a coincidence. The Inspector General, you have to remember, has the ability to investigate folks at the Department of Justice and the FBI. He doesn't have the ability to indict. He can only make criminal referrals. He's done that before with respect to the director of the FBI and the deputy director of the FBI. And as I have been telling you for is a significant development. It means that there is a reasonable indication or suspicion that crimes have occurred. Doesn't mean that he's going to charge anyone, but it does mean that he's going to impanel a grand jury to compel testimony, subpoenas, and people, documents and people, to come and address the origins of this Russia investigation where a president was accused of treason, falsely accused of treason, by a party that paid for a fake, phony dossier. You know, the Democrats are now unhappy that John Durham is looking at whether or not there was a proper predicate for it. I don't believe there was.
And we should also point out that one of the people who accused the president of treason quite publicly was John Brennan, the former CIA director. And John Brennan's fingerprint seems to be all over the origins of the Russia probe.
The importance there, again, of John Durham having the ability with a grand jury to bring in folks outside of the Department of Justice, outside of the FBI, which Michael Horowitz couldn't do and can't address in his report. John Durham will have the ability to bring in intelligence officials like John Brennan, like James Clapper, and explain why this, how this Russia Trump collusion, treason investigation got started, where the proper predicate was for it. And again, there are real questions about that, and I have great confidence in Attorney General Bill Barr and John Durham to get answers to that. And many of us think it's long overdue that there's accountability for much of what has not been explained about a claim against President Trump.